Ugh. Get in there. Okay, so this is my second episode of the Unedited, and if you can tell the camera quality is a little bit better, that's because they got a little camera on the top, so there's that, something new. And today is a very, very important video, in my opinion, because there are so many student athletes. So, I'm going to go through what I had to go through, and parents also need to listen to this. It's so crucial, especially hearing it from someone who went through it rather than hearing what a parent says you need to do or a coach says you need to do. Listening from literally first person, someone who went through it, is way better. So, I actually wrote down stuff on a card just because there are so many things that are important I need to tell you guys. So, we're going to start with the important stuff, which is steps, the process itself. And then we're going to talk about what you need to look for. Then we're going to talk about my emotions, or emotions that I personally went through, and then emotions other people might have been through. And then I'm going to talk about how it was specifically for me, step by step, like not being as in the game as everyone else. If that makes any sense. Alright, so we're going to start with steps. So the steps were pretty simple for me. I made a YouTube channel, and I posted videos of myself on it, playing really well. And then after that, what did I do? After that, I got on Twitter. Every single coach, athlete is on Twitter. So get Twitter. Even if you don't like it, you don't have to look at it. Just post yourself on Twitter and post all the events you're going to. Every event. Post practices you're doing. Post yourself all the time. It shows that you have commitment to something you love, and the coaches, I think, love that. So there's that too. You need to put yourself there on the internet. So please, parents, don't hold your children back. If they're not allowed to have social media, have it on your phone, and then they go on there and they post themselves, because it's really important to get yourself out there. But it's also really important that you don't post something you'll regret. So make sure we're being cautious of that, because colleges do talk about how they want someone who presents himself well. And I mean, if you're not presenting yourself well, the school's not even going to bother looking at you, let alone pay for your entire college. So, there's that too. Then, on top of that, is the next part. When you get close, you can start a few years before, but I didn't, just because, again, I didn't know it was a whole thing. But we were told, you need to send emails. And I was like, send emails to all the colleges you are considering. By the way, 3 colleges is not enough to consider. 5 colleges is not enough to consider, and 7 are not. You need at least 20. At least. That gives you variety, because you really don't know what you want. You don't. I mean, I didn't. I thought I knew what I wanted, and it comes out that I didn't. And then suddenly I'm going to a completely different school. So that's something that's so important, are these emails. You're going to find out. What I did is I took Google Sheets, laid it all out, right? You have one section that's the school name, then you have coaches, their emails, their numbers if that's an option, and then you do research like the program, you do research on how much it is a year, all of these things, and then you have it in this perfectly well organized Google Sheet, and you can go through and email each school of interest. There is an email you're going to have to make. It's going to take time to perfect it. That's what I did. Do not use AI. And do not get someone to do it for you, because I think I could be wrong. I think I knew someone who had someone doing all of this for them and they use templates. I disagree with that. Don't use templates. You know, or hopefully your parents know, what's appropriate to send to a college coach who could have your hands or have you in their hands for the future. That was not correct. Who could. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. So it's so important that you email these coaches. I start off with an introduction. I talk about myself, but I don't give everything away. I don't go, I have 3 dogs, 7 cats, 20 brothers. I don't say that. But you do introduce yourself and talk about where you go to school, what you like to do, what you're oriented in, how long you've been playing soccer, kind of just a brief mix up. I might just have to post something where you all can see this Google sheet of mine down below, and then it just will be like where you can't edit it, but y'all can look at it and see what I'm talking about. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. Anyway, so then once you get these emails out, which mind you, girl, it's gonna take you a very long time, because you have to make all these emails, and then you have to make sure you're not saying dear coach Donald when you, and then of like, I don't know, Mississippi, or just make up a school, Arden School, dear Donald from Arden School, and you actually meant to send it to coach, I don't know, Erica. That's terrifying. I feared so much that I would accidentally send the wrong email. Oh my gosh. So be very careful and be genuine. And also, one thing that was really important that I put in my emails, I believe, was something I liked about that school. Because when you're doing research, don't just pick schools. You need to, see where would I want to stay in the U.S., what would I want to do, environment-wise, temperature, like all these things, which is what you need to look for, which we're getting to. Once you do emails, you're going to get calls starting June 15th. This is for soccer. I'm talking about soccer. Sorry. This is for calls. June 15th. At least for females is June 15th. For males, I don't know how it works. It's really a different world, kind of. But yes, June 15th is when it starts. And you wait up. I stayed up all night waiting. And then I got a text at like 12:20 a.m. And I was so bloody excited. So, yes, it's a very important day, but do not stress it to the point where you're like, what if I don't get any calls? Or what if I don't get any texts? Some schools don't reach out the first day. Some people go, well, then that means I wasn't their first pick. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Some schools don't start the June 15th because they're doing something, whether it's a camp or they're traveling, something like that. So it's not always the case. Don't put your whole life on, I didn't get any calls June 15th, I'm not important, because that's not how it works. Once you get the calls, that's the scary part. The calls are the scary part. You weren't prepared for this, by the way. There's no way to prepare. I mean, besides going through life, right? When I say you're not able to prepare for a call with a college coach, you're not. I made it to where I was like, okay, I'm going to have all these questions, which we'll get into. All these questions, I made at least 30, 40 questions, because I wanted to make, I was interested, first of all. I was interested. I wanted to know what the culture was like, blah, 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 blah. Which, again, like I said, we'll get into what we need to look for. I asked them all these questions, and then, we have a long conversation. The call can be 15 minutes. The call can be an hour. It just depends on everything. So that is a very important part. The next part is after you get through the calls, you keep up with those coaches. When I say keep up, make sure you're texting them if they, it's their phone number, but not an insane amount. I feel like I'd be nervous if I just texted way too much. But, be honest about stuff. Now, usually the first call is just introduction, getting to know you, blah, blah, blah. The second call, because they will call you again if they're very interested, they're going to call you, and usually they either don't offer a official visit, or they'll offer an unofficial visit, or they won't offer any visit, and they will decline you after being interested. So, with that being said, that was also a very exciting part, but I didn't know how to react when I was asked to go on visits. But you go on visits. It's so fun. You get pampered, and all the hard work and everything you've been working for, and all the stress and all these hard games and all the sweat and all the running, it's worth it, because being pampered like that is just, it's nice knowing that what you've been working for, like, it went towards something, right? So the next part is going on the visits. Be yourself. Read the room, right? I'm not going to go around screaming when I meet them like I would with my friends, but be yourself, be open. The thing for me was I was always nervous the first day, just because it's new people. I'm not great around a lot of new people when I don't even know a single person. So for me, it was really hard. But by the second, third day, you had me opening up, and it was a great time. Normally they take you to football games. Ironically, all the visits I went on were either out of football season, like right before football season started, or they just weren't having a football game that weekend. Ironically, I was like, I don't think I went to any football games, actually. So there's that. And then once you get your visits done, it's time to pick. And that's definitely going to be a part of when I get to the journey part and the emotion part, about picking, because it's a lot. And then once you pick, you're done. You post your pictures that you took on the visit, because they always do. They always do a photo shoot. And if they don't, wrap it up. No, I'm kidding. But they always do a photo shoot, so it doesn't even matter. So what do you need to look for? The whole big popular word right now is culture. How are the girls? How are the coaches? X, Y, Z. My problem with this need is how quick the team will change. Because you have every year girls leaving and girls joining. Girls leaving and girls joining. On top of that, coach swaps are way more, and unfortunately, they're way more popular and more done now, I feel, than maybe they were before. I've heard so many schools swapping their coaches. My coach left, he got a great offer to another school, and he took it just because it was right for him and for his family, which is great. And then the assistant coach is now our head coach, and I love her. Coach Emily from East Carolina University, amazing woman. She's really honestly what drew me there. So, like I'm saying, sorry, I just had to say that. Like I'm saying, it is it's just so crazy to me how many swaps there are. And I was amazed. I was like, you could get there in a year and that coach leave after a year, and the dynamic totally change. So when people say I'm looking for culture, the culture is gonna twist a little bit and mold differently every year, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So culture is important, yes. Make sure when you get there, you meet people you like, but at the same time, it can change in a second. So you have to be aware of that. Other things you need to look for. Stuff you like outside of the soccer. Do you like the campus? Do you like the weather? Do you like the dorm? Do you like the stuff around the university? What are things you can do there? Does it have the degree you want? And if you don't know what you want, that's okay. That's okay. Because they actually tell us this. They tell us if you're going to come to this college, basically 30% to 40, 50-50 maybe. I'd say 40-60. You want to come here because of the soccer. 100%. Because that's what you plan on doing for all 4 years. However, if you get some form of injury or something that means you cannot play soccer anymore, you need to be able to go on to this college life without soccer, if you get injured and that's the case, and enjoy it. So you not only need to prepare for the fact that you're going to be playing soccer there, but you also need to think, if I wasn't playing soccer, would I still go here? Would I still enjoy myself here? So that's a very important thing you need to think of. If there was no soccer, would I like the school? The coaching is important. Make sure you like their style. If you don't like their style, like I said again, they change it every year. Coaches change, players change, which means the game's going to change. So it's important, again, obviously, but don't make it your make or break, kind of. The living. The living's important. I don't think I would have... well, honestly, I didn't see any bad dorms. There was one place I went where the dorms didn't have air conditioning, and I was like, no, I can't do that. I need air conditioning. So that was one thing I didn't, living is important. But you're only going to usually live in the dorm for 1 year, and then you can either stay in the dorm, which most people don't do. Most people make it cheaper, and they just go to a house and they share it in the team. So, make sure you like the living. There are so many more questions to ask them. Things you need to look for. It's just, it can go on. Do you like the colors? I'm not even lying to you. Do you like the colors? If you don't go to a school you don't like the colors, that's obviously not what made or break my decision, but again, I love the colors, purple and yellow. Hello? I love those colors. I love them. So, of course, I'm happy. Look, I'm wearing purple right now. Any form of purple, I'm down. I'll wear it. Especially if it's school colors. So, those are big things you need to look for. I'm trying to think of other things you could look for. Cost. The cost of the school. If they don't offer full, or if they offer half, know how much you're paying. Because it's so much. And by the way, when I think about it, you're representing the school, and if you're not getting paid for that to represent the school, make sure you're not paying a whole bunch to go to the school. Because there's some people who just go to these schools that are just so expensive, and I'm like, you could have gotten just as good as an education here. But at the same time, they're like, well, this is what I want. I said, okay. Debt will be your best friend. But again, if you can afford it, you can afford it. I can't afford a $50,000 school year. No. No, I couldn't. So that's another thing too. The cost. It's important. It can be a make or break, for sure. So the cost. What are you offered? XYZ. I'm going to go on to the emotions I felt through this entire process. First I wrote was stress. It is very stressful. Because, especially in my year, The 2026s and 2025s. 2026s, I'm going to say years actually, not graduate years, but age, 2007. Now, of your senior year, June 15th, you're going to be getting calls. But as an 07, I was up with girls who were graduating a year earlier than me, just because I have a late birthday. So they were all committed. I was still waiting till June 15th. They had already signed. They're already ready, And then all of a sudden, there's a change in the NCAA rules. And all of a sudden, people started getting cut and cut and cut. And I'm talking like the highest schools are cutting people. So that means schools that are maybe a little bit lower or even more lower are grabbing at these girls in this thing called the portal. The portal is what you think it is. You go from one school to the other. And you either stay stuck in the portal or you get taken out by a coach who wants to bring you on, and then you go to that school. It's dangerous, but it's done all the time because a lot of the times girls will get to that school that they thought they would love and they end up don't liking it, or they get a coach swap, or something happens, or they get cut. And they want to play soccer so bad that they're willing to go into the portal and try a different school, which there's nothing wrong with that. So my point is, it was kind of stressful for me because my thought was, these girls are getting cut, which means, because there was a roster cap. Basically, these schools that had 30 to 40 people in high 20s, they realized, oh my gosh, all these people that are verbally committed, just committed, or someone who's on the team, I don't have enough space for all these people. I need to cut them. And they just started getting cut, and I was like, I wonder how many more schools me and other people in my year right below, how many offers we would have gotten if this cap didn't happen. Because some people got their verbal, like, even months before. Some people got their verbal commits taken away from them. And at first, I want to say that is absolutely terrible and wrong. But there's also rules. So someone has to go. They weren't prepared to go from 40 to 28. They were prepared to have 40. So people are going to have to go, which is terrible. But at the same time, why do we have 40 people? Why do we have 40 people? So my point behind that, I knew I was going to get off track about that. Oh, my toe. Is the stress behind it was, like I said, June 15th, I was so nervous, and everyone was like, don't be nervous. I got a lot of texts. I got a lot of people who reached out, and I was very thankful. But the school that I'm going to, which is East Carolina, didn't reach out to me until a week after or two. And that's because, again, they had stuff to do. They were busy. Could not tend to these calls and texts and emails. So when I got that text, I was like, oh, maybe I'm their second or third option. But that wasn't the case. They really liked me. So it felt good to know there were still people reaching out. The other stress, too, was the other schools. You have schools that really, really want you. There's other schools that kind of are wishy-washy. And then there's schools that sometimes kind of lead you on. And they'll be like, oh, yes, we like you so much. Come to our ID camp. By the way, that means they don't want you. And, I mean, it's a small chance. It's like, we've seen you, but we don't think you're that great. So spend money so we can see you. And I'm just like, no. Why would I do that when I can go to a school that wants me and needs me? Listen to what I just said. Wants me and needs me, parents and children and everyone. Wants me and needs me. needing and being wanted are very important. If they need defenders, I will play. And if they want me, that means they will like that I play. If they don't want me but they need me, it's kind of going to be difficult to enjoy playing. And if they want me but don't need me, then I probably won't play. So you need to be wanted and you need to be needed. So it's all just very stressful. Another problem I had actually through this, which mind you, June to September. I didn't commit until September, my birthday, or maybe a little bit before, but I didn't commit till September. And my confidence throughout those months were all over the place because some schools would ghost you, and then you get another school, and then you get suddenly a really good school, and you're just so confused, kind of, if you're good or not. And then you ask your other friends, oh, who called you? Who did this? And you start comparing yourself, which is a dangerous game. Don't compare yourself. So my confidence throughout it was very up and down because it felt good getting calls and texts. But then at the same time, I'd see other people a little more successful than me, and I'm like, but I worked so hard, or I've done this, and why haven't I? But then you remember, sometimes it's not about how big the school is, because, trust me, there's a lot of schools that are smaller that might just be as good, if not better, than some bigger schools. It's just because the school's bigger, they have a bigger name. So, there's that too. The next emotion I felt was joy. I was genuinely very happy. Once I committed, it was like a weight off of my back, shoulders, chest, my head. They're just gone. There was so much stress, like I've said, in the end, which we'll get to my journey. So what did I do? I did the emails, I did everything. I went to 5 different schools. 4 or 5. I don't quite remember. And it was amazing. It was so much fun. But the journey to get here is the fact that I didn't start ECNL until ECNL is the league, the highest league for club in the female world. MLS Next, I believe, is the highest rank for leagues. So ECNL for us, I didn't join until I was a little bit older, just because I was trying to get out of this thing called Plano Premier and Classic League, and I joined something called ODP. It's not really a path as much as it was when I was younger, but you can still go through it, of course. That's how I met ECNL players, but it's not a path that it once was because ECNL is so large now. The path would be ECRL to ECNL, but yeah, it was changed drastically when I went from that beautiful team that I had been with for years, growing bonds with some of my best friends at the time, and then leaving all of that to pursue what I wanted, which was soccer at a higher level, with defeaters, and I gained a lot of confidence, actually on the field, and then I switched teams for FC Dallas, and I lost all my confidence because I was so surprised with how amazing these girls were, and again, my mental state was not right, and I let it get the best of me, and it almost cost me my spot. But I refused to let that get in the way. So these past 2 years, no matter how many times I've been dragged under, no matter how many times it seems I have been maybe taken for granted, I still keep my head up and I still play and I still say yes, coach, and I still get on that field and I run. I don't sulk anymore when I'm on the field. I don't get upset that I might be being replaced over and over again, because it's only more of a challenge for me and it'll prepare me for college. I have to find the silver lining. You have to find the silver lining, because sometimes it's what happens, and it can be, no matter how unfair it is, the soccer world is unfair. My journey, I might say, is unfair, but it's normal. Sadly, it's normal, but my journey has not been easy, and I'm grateful for the coaches I have now, and I'm going to keep working hard, even if it doesn't get recognition, which it does a lot of the time, but when it doesn't, it's hard. But the main part of my journey is just, I tried other sports. I went through every league. Started at rec. Went up one by one, I'm telling you. I went up one by one, and then suddenly one day I just skyrocketed, and I was like, ECNL. And I wasn't the best at the time. I didn't have the best touch or whatever, but I had potential, and I was able to be coached, so that's why I was taken on. And so now I'm way better than I was then, and it's just so like fun to look back at videos and see all of that. At the end of this journey is your commitment, who you commit to. And I committed to East Carolina University. The worst part about committing is saying no to other schools. A lot of the time the coaches say, we've been through this. We do it all the time. We get told no every year, all the time, by a bunch of girls. It's just our job. But when you realize some of these coaches have been watching you for years, or you actually have a good bond with one of the coaches, it's just not the right place for you, you feel, or it just isn't the right fit, even though you wish it was. It's so hard to say, I'm sorry, but no. Especially when they want to give you everything. It hurt me to say no. Even though I'm sure they recovered in 5 seconds, I felt awful saying no to some schools. Some schools I was like, this was a school I really thought I was gonna go to, and I really grew a bond with this coach or players, and I just realized it wasn't it. And it hurt, honestly, that I even tears, to be honest, because when you think this is where you want to go, and then you don't know, and then you realize it's not, it's just very stressful. So that's my journey. Those are my important tips. Please don't just, if you're going through the process, I understand. It's really hard, and I have so much empathy, but in the end, it's amazing what you get out of it. And if you realize you don't want to play in college or whatever, that's okay. And if you don't get any offers, guess what? That's okay. You still have time usually, and if you never get offers, always keep reaching out. If you don't reach out, there will be no possibility. So just reach out, and they usually get back to you, as long as you stay persistent. So anyway, that is all for today, and please take everything I said into consideration, and it's very important that you do. And yeah, see you on the next one, I guess.